It's July 25th, 2023. I'm just discovering a Danish astronomer from Denmark called Tycho Brahe. My grandfather um, used to say, well, he was here. It's better than a punch on the nose, Nicole. Nicoletta. It's better than a punch on the nose. Apparently, Tycho Brahe had a brass nose. Um, Now, what's interesting is the humans in this mortal realm stuck me in a Christian church that had a red cross with a white background, the exact inverse relationship to the Denmark white cross with a red background. It seems significant. I'm in this monetary system. I'll put up the flag, for which it's red, white, and blue with some stars. At like best foot forward, scout life is what they put forward for my son. The last 3 weeks on The People had a Kennedy, had Raising a Future King, but this is the king of, I think, where they have the Red Cross, and then Catching Serial Killers on Long Island. All part of The People, whatever. I mean, again, but I'm going weekly to the Red Cross to check in with the In God We Trust people. Because I don't know, is it a friendly bourgeoisie? Is it a friendly people? I feel very trapped in New York. Again, they came out with Oppenheimer movie and Barbie. I identify more as a Barbie trapped in a fat suit, waiting, like looking like never got a Ken to my Barbie. And I know I'm RH sensitive, so I'm really careful. Um, so season 1, episode 3 of Ancient Skies this week, since in my capacity to reach the mortal realm and humans conducting themselves in the mortal realm, they have not offered me a lesson on astronomy, not ever, not on astronomers, not on clocks. Yet I have this, and not on like at like vertical flight. They have not offered me a position, not one that I have a regular outfit and have somewhere to report to. But yet I'm this biological clock feature, and I already like delivered the very important genetic piece. So this is like so far like into my life frame at this point. um, I'm trying to look for words to make the correct document for myself and my child. On the Ancient Skies, I'm going to show what, I mean, again, it's all in the holographic universe since I don't have access to like an actual astronomer. Eric came at the World Gym for such a small piece. And while I was on an elliptical right next to his treadmill, um, we didn't really speak. We were just in the same physical dimension for a short period of time. Um, Drove the same car. His was a different symbol than mine. Even though it was the same make, it was a different model.
In 1577, a great comet passed close to the Earth. It stayed in the sky.
Now, for me, just to give context, this is how I feel climate change is at the moment. I did a piece this morning. The meteorologist from CWS had up the heat waves that are going like all across the planet, um, more from like an orb, like a an NEO, like Neo, like outside the orbit of Earth, looking down that plane of reality from like a space station, an ISS. Um, and then here they speak of these crystalline spheres and the shattering thereof, which goes into another thing that I'm aware of in this sunlight that's concerning, that I don't have the proper level of scientist to report to. And I don't know who's safe to report to, um, being that this area has such a mixed congregation and there's no clean lines of communication. It's a real problem in New York, has been for a long time, and it's steadily gotten worse. Um, and then it talks about the limit of the visible universe and the cosmic microwave background, which is what I feel that this is alerting me in my daily journals that I've been making, where like radiologically my hands disappear. And this is my visual light spectrum. And that's what the camera's picking up on.
For over 2 months.
The comet of 1577 was remarkable in that we have observations of it from around the world, from Peru, Japan, Italy, Turkey, and so it's a moment which we can fix in time.
People believed comets to be great balls of fire, and different cultures told stories depicting them as different creatures.
Like, again, this is a paradox. This is a parallel way of explaining some of, like, I mean, again, like, who do I need to report to? I don't even know. But this level of light is dangerous. And I have this special clock feature anatomically, which is incredibly crucial and important. Um, and I don't know who or where to report in properly for safety and for what I need. But my needs have not been met for so long, because I feel like there's some other fight going on in the fight that I believe that it's over. I mean, they make it look like sports and money and all sorts of stupid things, but um, I just feel like they're breaking those crystalline spheres, if those are the heat shields, and they're trying to reprogram these sections of the universe that are really hard to explain. And I shouldn't have to come out and like open whatever to explain them. But I really, at this point, they've locked me away into this like realm of holographic universe where I I just feel like I'm trapped inside New York and then reporting inside of a hologram, and not knowing where a level of intelligence even exists to fix my very real situation.
Australian Aboriginal peoples believe them to be the fearsome evil spirit of a rainbow serpent. Other cultures imagine comets as fire-breathing dragons. In most cases, they were seen as omens, bringing bad luck. But the Great Comet of 1577 would bring about one of the greatest transformations in astronomy for 1400 years.
So they have 1577. Again, Brady Bunch arrived in 77. I arrived in a 78. The painting for Johannes Vermeer, they gave it a 16th century. I believe it's 15th or 16th century. I don't even know how to report on that. Somebody better scholared. I mean, first class education and what I've been exposed to are like two different realms of reality. I mean, I don't even share the same level of comfort when speaking as to whatever they've set as some standard that then they never even shared with me.
In the Kingdom of Denmark was a man who felt inspired to take astronomy to great new heights.
And Denmark is one of those areas when I did the DNA test, Alexander and Benjamin and Daniel gifted me a special DNA test one year for our birthday, which I took. The results came back from this very real section. This is where my bloodline comes from. Even though the origin story of my father is somewhere else. And my grandmother on my mother's side origin story is from somewhere else. My actual DNA bloodline ties back to this particular area, which is a very small section of world population for being RH sensitive and an ABO.
He was a maverick skywatcher who wore a brass nose after his real one was cut off in a duel. He lived in a castle and had his own personal court jester. His name was Tycho Brahe.
Tycho Brahe was the astrologer to...
And when I hear them say it, it sounds like Brahe. I'm like, Brahe, eins, zwei, Brahe? Or, I mean, because again, somewhere in the world there's fear! And it's like,
to the King of Denmark. And so accuracy was at a premium.
At this time, astrology and astronomy were still inseparable, and people believed that a knowledge of how the skies worked could help to predict events on Earth.
He wanted to understand the workings of the universe to make his astrological predictions more exact. So he's also extremely famous as an astronomer.
Just as with everything else in his life, when it came to astronomy, Brahe didn't do things halfway.
Tycho Brahe sets up the world's greatest observatory on his island of Ved. I think it's 1% of the operating budget of the Crown of Denmark is dedicated to funding Tycho's island.
With almost limitless funds provided by the King of Denmark, Brahe set to work filling his observatory with the most advanced astronomical instruments yet seen.
These are instruments before the telescope, so he's created huge sextants and quadrants that take multiple people to manage and record the data. His invention of instruments allowed him to measure with the greatest ever precision the positions of the planets and stars in the night sky.
But it wasn't just planets and stars that Brahe was interested in. Something else he saw was about to change our understanding of the universe forever. On November 13th, 1577, Brahe spotted the Great Comet from his observatory. He set to work plotting its course. His calculations showed that the Great Comet was passing through the orbit of Venus. But according to the accepted wisdom, this shouldn't be possible.
and again, through Venus. But I don't know if in the mortal world and in the human realm, if they fight over who actually holds like Zeus and Poseidon's positions in the world. Like, again, if it's the King of Denmark and then there's someone in the red and white crown who has a different imagination of who the king is. And this is the only future kings that I've ever heard of here. But there's the red background with the white cross, but I only have access at Sunday school, and they've sent me to, on Sunday school, the red cross with the white background. I don't know if that's for safety purposes, because I see all sorts of things going on in outside territories, like where Mossad comes from in their intelligent network. They're having a whole big thing with their Supreme Court right now. No idea what that has to do with. But I'm going to pause this for a second, and I'm going to fast forward to where they come up with the radiological signature, and then I'm going to go to the heat report. Actually, I have to go to the crystalline spheres breaking first.
At this time, people believed that everything in the cosmos was contained within concentric crystalline spheres.
The idea of the crystalline spheres isn't just a metaphor for people at this time. People thought that they actually were crystalline spheres.
Brahe reasoned that it should have been impossible.
I still believe in crystalline spheres. They're making it sound like they no longer exist, or people no longer adhere to that model.
For the comet to follow this trajectory. The crystalline spheres ought to have stopped it in its tracks. He realized that the only way for the great comet to follow this path would be if the crystalline spheres simply did not exist.
In effect, the comet of 1577, in Tycho's interpretation, shatters those crystalline spheres.
After 2,000 years, the crystalline spheres were gone. And with the idea of a sun-centered universe taking hold, the door was open to a whole new era of astronomy. But there was still one ancient idea that remained. The belief that everything in the heavens moved in perfect circles.
Now they put up this Kepler stargazer, or I don't have the correct words for it because I don't know. They don't teach me. But they do, on this American program, have a scientist that they allowed to study this level of knowledge, while I've been withheld from it, and I'm not quite clear why.
We are also looking back in time to the very limit of the visible universe.
So we can observe the very first light that the universe emitted. We call this the cosmic microwave background, and it's basically the leftover energy from what we think was the start of the universe.
This cosmic microwave background has helped us to calculate how...
So this exists, according to the humans in the holographic universe. Someone in the human realm or mortal realm studies this stuff. That's what my version of this looks like. Only access I have. I don't have machines that are able to calibrate this and send any kind of real raw data back. But I know someone in some laboratory has access to it. I don't even know if it seems like they've lost control of who's even able to get a hold of the equipment and get to study this and get to write and publish papers and are part of this, but they're also part of the problem. So therein lies the paradox, and here's what they're saying in New York in current time as far as this heat, temperature, and this global climate change.
Day and then release it back at night, leaving the city and surrounding areas no chance to cool off. Nate?
Nicole, thank you. Turning now to meteorologist Jim Cantori from our partners at the Weather Channel. Jim, good morning. This heat wave appears to be spreading.
Yeah, and it's not just here in the United States where it will be spreading over the next couple of days, but it's also in Europe. I mean, we can have an all-time record high in Rome, Italy that we might have had the other day. And now they're even talking about all-time record hail size that we had. Let's talk about the heat, though, in the United States, which is spreading east as we work our way through the next several days. We are talking about temperatures that'll be near 100. They will feel like they're over 100 degrees when you factor in the humidity here.
So that's what they're reporting to me inside New York from whatever I can gather. I don't really have any real field contacts. I don't have any real professors, any real teachers. I don't know where they organize themselves. Um, I've been watching, they're coming out with this thing that they're doing congressional hearings in Washington, D.C., and there's all of these like different UFOologists or MUFOnists or whatever they call themselves. And I've listened to them, and like they don't even really have, like, some of them don't even have a good grasp on what's really going on. So I just kind of discount them and just I listen, but but it's only half my attention because their words are just like miscalculations in the larger equation when they speak. So I don't really spend my time, but there is one, and I'm not holding it against him that he's with Harvard. Um, Although it's come to light now that there's other things wrong with his learning institution that I've also documented. So I am, but he is the only one, that Dr. Loeb, that when he speaks, um, his accent when he speaks is the only one that to my ear sounds like he potentially comes from a line of something that can, like in salvation, that could be worked with. Some of them when they speak, I'm like, oh God, to the ear, it's not even pleasant. So he was on a program, News Nation Live, with Marnie Hughes, Hughes, E394, aired Tuesday, 7/25.
Really trust the integrity of Chris Mellon. I would suggest that there may be some fire behind this smoke. There might be something that is being hidden from us. The question is why. I mean, anything interstellar should be known to all people on Earth because it came from thousands of light years away.
Now, I don't necessarily agree with his argument, but I know that it has to be put out there. I had a conversation with Benjamin the other day, like he came for a surprise visit, and I tried explaining to him, I'm like, parlare italiano? I was like, stellar, what does it mean, Benjamin? I was like, what's the only Hollywood, do you know? Stella! I was like, what movie is that, Benjamin? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, I never saw it, but I hear that it was in something called a Rocky. It's significant for the New York area, but stellar itself is the word for star. Super important in your life frame. And then I showed him the teleme, and he's like, it looks like a snowman. And I was like, right, yeah, no, I get that. I was like, and he's like, so what are you trying to say to me, Mom? And I'm like, because there's interconnectedness with some of this. I mean, it seems like not intelligent stuff, but it's from where you were born. So it's important at a certain degree of knowledge of things for a conversation.
Doesn't adhere to national borders, doesn't care how humans split the land on this rock that we live in. And as a result, this should be scientific knowledge that is shared by everybody. It shouldn't be the privy of the intelligence agencies. It has nothing to do with national intelligence.
Actually, it does. Because, again, if they're breaking crystalline spheres and they're causing this radiological whatever, and they're keeping the actual astronomicals captive so they can play around with equations and science equipment that puts the planet in jeopardy, then it's a problem. So it is privy to the intelligence communities. Where I am not certain is, like, again, then I walk this careful balance between the war machine and whatever. But again, I feel comfort in the fact that at least my level of person, it's my history of developing the atom bomb. So therefore that stays locked away safe, but for the projection of maintaining the integrity of the formula and of the stars and the planets and that, in order to protect the star seeds on the planet and within the system, within the clock's system. That always made sense. Where they bastardize it is when it comes to, I think, land management and resource management and area management. Then it gets really, it becomes almost like a dirty business. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.